Hey guys, so welcome to this week's market focus, and as usual the first thing we do during the market focus is to go through the pairs we had last week and see any trading opportunities we had. So I'll do a quick trade recap from what happened last week, and let's start with the indices first of all. So looking at US30, I had a sell opportunity on US30. So I got in on US30 for a sell position and I took a loss on this one. So this was a -1 and it was very difficult for me to even get like a break even on this position, because once we got in, price started moving a little bit to the downside and then we had price just rallying again to the upside. And if you was in the move to the upside, that was a pretty good trade for you guys. So NAS100 as well. So right here, this was on May 8th, and if you look at US30, I got in on US30 on May 7th, and then I got stopped out on May 8th. And then let's look at NAS100 as well. So I got in on NAS100 on May 8th. So right here, I was looking at a sell position right here, and I know this looks like a very good uptrend, but with the way I trade and the setup we're looking at, we've taken this countless times, and this is just one of the times when it was very difficult for this to play out. So we had a sell opportunity on NAS100 right here. So it started playing out to my favor, and that's why I moved my stops to break even at this point. It was difficult to secure anything on this as well, because eventually price just moved back to the upside and it took me out on this on the break even. And I had another opportunity on BTC. So now this was on May 9th. So on the 9th of May, we attempted the buys on BTC right here. So I got in here. I moved my stops to break even once price moved in my favor a little bit. So as price started moving in my favor, I moved my stops to break even at this point. And eventually again, price just rallied back and took me out on this on a break even. So we had 3 trades. US30, this was a loss. NAS100 break even, and the BTC one, it was a break even as well. So that's it for the trade recap, and let's just go directly to what we have this week. And again, the first thing we look at is the DXY, and this is something that's very common with my market focus. If you've been watching my videos, you should know already. The first thing we look at is the DXY, and this week's market focus is going to be pretty quick, so it's not a lot that I'm seeing happening, so I'm just going to brush through this really quick. So looking at the DXY, this is the daily time frame, by the way, and if I just zoom out a little bit, you can see we've been in this uptrend, and there's a lot that's been happening as we've been moving to the upside. So while we move to the upside, we've been having periods like this where we have these pullbacks, and we're having periods like this where we're having pullbacks, but that is not my concern as of now. So what I'm most focused on right now is this area where price is at. So we have this psychological number of 106, and we have another psych number here of 105, and if you look at it critically, we've been trading within this area of 106 and 105. So everything that happened, say, within the past 2 weeks has been within this range of 106 and 105. So this is the area we've been trading within. Now the first principle I always go through, if it stays the same. Price came to 106, this psych number, it went through this number and then it came back, attempted to go through it again, and then it came right back, and then we had sellers stepping in and then taking prices to 105. So staying on the daily time frame, if you're staying on the daily time frame, price has tested this area of 105. Price has tested this area of 105 right here, and you can see from this candle, you can tell the buyers are trying to step in impulsively, and they're holding prices from going below 105. Now if this stays the same, like if everything stays this way coming into next week, where buyers find it difficult to where sellers find it difficult to go past this point, then eventually we should see prices moving to the upside. Now this might take a couple of days, this might take maybe the entire week for you to see prices move, say, to this area of 106, or even see prices go lower to this point. But for me, the first thing I like to do, and with every other person in the community, the first thing we like to do is see where price is most likely going to go to, say once the market open, say Monday, Tuesday, because if you can tell what price is going to do, say on Monday and Tuesday, or what price is most likely going to do, because it's difficult to tell what price is going to do. If you can anticipate correctly and say price is most likely going to do this once the market opens, then once the move starts playing out, it becomes very easy for you. So staying on the daily time frame, I still believe there is a possibility for price to move again to the upside, and I'll just move to lower time frames and show you. So let's step down, say, to the 8-hour time frame. So we're here on the 8-hour time frame. So the first thing, again, when you look at this, you've had this massive move from the sellers. So we're looking at this from 106. This entire move is a massive move from the sellers. That's it, from 106 to 105. We had a rejection at this point of 105, and we've had buyers stepping in. Now the reason I'm saying we should expect a move again to the upside before seeing sellers coming in, or we see the move to the upside and prices testing 106, is because of this piece of price action right here. And when you step on lower time frames, you'll probably see it better, or it makes it clearer for you to break down every piece of it. So on the 4-hour time frame, and we'll step down to the hourly time frame. So on the 4-hour time frame, this is what I'm looking at. We have this move from the buyers, so you can see price putting in highs. There is a low, it puts in a high, there is a pullback. Price puts in a high, there is a pullback around this point, and then price makes another high. Then you have these sellers coming in massively. Now this right here is what we focus on, and then we step down again to the lower time frame, like the hourly time frame, and then we piece all this together with what is happening on the daily time frame. So looking at this, just having this in mind, when you step down to the hourly time frame, this is what we're looking at, and this is where my anticipation for buys to come in on the DXY stems from. So we've had this massive move from the sellers, and we've had prices stalling around this point. So basic price action, if you have a massive sell, so let's say you have a massive sell like this, you should expect, say, a minor pullback like this to give you a continuation to the downside. But when you see what price is doing at this point right here, we've had these sellers coming in massively, so we had some weakness coming in, and then an inability of price to make a move to the downside. This alone just tells me basic price action, price is consolidating within this area, and if you have a break from this, then you should see prices moving to the upside, and that is what I'm basing my anticipation on. So for prices to move again to the upside, we need to see prices moving to the upside, or there's a likelihood for price to move to the upside, or there's this possibility for price to move to the upside, and this is my primary bias moving into next week. I'm expecting, or I think there's a high possibility the DXY is going to make a move to the upside. Now once this move goes to the upside, two things might happen. So we might see prices taking out these highs to make new highs, or we might see prices find it difficult to make new highs. It's the same thing that is happening here. You have a massive move to the downside, there is a pullback, there's an inability to make a move to the downside. The same thing can happen once buyers step in. You might see prices moving to the upside, there's an inability to make new highs, and you might see sellers coming in again, or you might get prices moving to the upside. It gets here, it makes a new high, there is a pullback, and then you see prices testing 106 again. Now all of this we're just anticipating, and it's quite, sometimes it's really difficult for you to say what price is really going to do. But going off of what is happening on the daily time frame, I'll step back to the daily time frame. So looking at the daily time frame, just going off of this, we've had prices moving from 106 to 105. There is this inability for price to go through 105, which is this point right here. So most likely price is going to move again to this point. Now, as I said before, this might take some time for you to see prices move to this point, because you need like 1 daily candle, 2, 3. So you might see 4 candles that take prices to the upside, or if the buy is coming impulsively, you might see 1 or 2, like within 2 days, and you can have prices getting to this point. And if there's like high news events, or if the fundamentals drive this pair perfectly, you might get 1 candle that takes price to the upside. So going off of this and stepping, say, to the lower time frame, knowing that price has been consolidating around this point, or price found it difficult to go past 105, we should expect to see prices moving again to the upside. So again, you have this sellers coming in, there is a massive sell, you have this move to the upside, and then there is a pullback. But once you move to lower time frames like the hourly time frame, this is where it gets really interesting. So looking at it from the hourly time frame right here, this is all I'm looking at. Massive sell, inability for price to go to the downside. We've had sellers pulling back, there was a massive sell, and then we had buyers stepping in impulsively. So staying on the daily time frame, when you look at this from the daily time frame, you can tell there is a high possibility for prices to move to the upside. You look again at this bullish candle, and you look at this bearish candle right here. We've had this impulsive sells, and then we had a counter, like there's a counter move from the buyers. So impulsive sells, impulsive buys. This now is like a pullback for these buyers, and if this holds at this level, if price doesn't go below this point, we should see the DXY moving to the upside. Now we have this information, say, from the DXY. How do we use this information now? So let's go through the first pair. I'll look at US30, and I'm just going to stick, say, on the hourly time frame on these other pairs. That way we can go through this focus really quick. So having this in mind, that the DXY is going to move to the upside, I'm looking at US30, and I'm expecting these sellers to step in. Now this might not eventually get to, what is this, like 39,000, this psychological number right here. Price might not get to this point, so we might see sellers coming in, and then we see buyers moving again to the upside, which is fine. But what we're looking for is an understanding, is this correlation between the DXY and these other pairs. If the DXY decides to move to the upside, we should be able to tell or to anticipate what is going to happen on these other pairs. So we might see sellers coming in, and then eventually a move to the upside, or we might see sellers coming in and taking prices dip. So the two things that I'm looking at on, say, US30, a possible move to an area like this, or just an area like this, and then you see buyers stepping in, or you see the sellers making a move all the way to 39,000. Now this is for US30. Let's look at NAS100. So NAS100 as well, I'm just going to make this big. So NAS100, we've had prices trading above this area, which is 18,000, this psychological number right here, and we've been in this uptrend. So we've been in this uptrend. If you look at it, if you look at it this way, price has been putting in, so there's a high, there's a pullback, there's a high, there's a higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, similar move, pullback to test these areas, and then we had prices moving to the upside. So just as I always tell you, when price goes through a psych number like this, there's a high possibility price likes to test these areas, and just to give you multiple reactions or multiple rejections at this point, and then eventually you might see prices moving again to the upside. So for NAS100, going off of what is happening on the DXY, I'm expecting some kind of failure, or some kind of like an inability for the buyers to take prices to the upside. Say if price, so let's say the market's open and the buyers find it difficult to take prices, go past, or to make new highs, then we should expect sellers to come in. So with NAS100, this is an area I'll be most focused on. If the sales eventually come in, I'll look for a selling opportunity on NAS100, and this will be my target point, probably just to an area like this. And trust me, you can get say a 1:2 or a 1:3 from a move like this. These moves on this indices, like, they come in, and if you have a good risk to reward, it's very easy to take maybe a 1:2 from a move like this to the downside. So this is a pair I'll probably be watching when the markets open next week. So compared to US30, you have this massive move to the upside, and it might be difficult to see like a deep pullback to an area like this, but with NAS100 it's quite different. So we had a move to the upside, but when you look at this recent price action right here, you don't like, there's not an impulsive move to the upside, so you have very choppy price action. You can consider this as a consolidation, a movement to the upside consolidation. There is a break with price testing this area. So some people might look at this and say price is going to buy because we're testing this area right here, but I look at it differently. We look at it in the community differently. So we're going off of what we have. We have principles we're working with, and this for me is my principle. Once you go through a psych number like this, you should get a test, and for you to really say the buyers are taking these prices to the upside, sometimes you see sellers coming in again just to test this area, and if it holds again, then you might get those impulsive buys to the upside. So that's it for NAS100. Let's look at the S&P 500 real quick. The S&P 500 again, compared to NAS100 and US30 as well, I'm expecting sales to come in to test this area of 5200, which is this psych number right here. We have this consolidation. So initially, I'm going to put this right here. So initially we had a move to the upside, there was a consolidation, then there is a massive move. And just like the basic principles of price action, when you have a move to the upside, you should expect a pullback. Now, how deep is the pullback going to come in? That is something I can't really tell you, and that's why sometimes you have complex pullback. So you might have a move to the upside, you have a shallow pullback, and then price making new highs, and you might also get something like this, a move to the upside, and then you get a deeper pullback. So on the S&P 500, I'm looking at this for a possibility for say a deeper pullback. So this for me is not a pullback that might make new highs, and again, this might happen, but that is not what I'm looking at. So I'm expecting prices to move to say 5200, and once prices get to this point, we went through this point, so I'm expecting prices to test this area for us to see buyers coming in or a continuation to the downside. So going off of what is happening on the DXY, I'm expecting these buys to come in, and going off of this principle, I'm expecting sales to come in on the S&P 500. So how deep is this going to come? That's what is difficult for me to tell, and that's why I do the focus as well, just to have an idea of what is going to happen, and then I look at this over the week and see what's happening on these pairs. Again, price might just pull to an area like this, and you get this difficulty for price to move to the downside, and you see prices moving again to the upside. So that's still another possibility, but personally I want to see prices get to say 5200, and if price gets to say 5200, then we might look at what is happening here and then make a decision and say we might take prices to the upside. So that's it for the S&P 500, and let's look at gold real quick. So I had a lot of people last week taking buys on gold. I think price was at this point right here, and you had a lot of people taking buys on this one, and that was really good. So I missed these buys. I was in on these sales, and because of this I didn't see these buys coming in. But anybody who took the buys on this, like, kudos to you. I think that was a very great move from last week, combining this with the fundamentals as well. So looking at gold as well, we've had prices moving from 2400 all the way to 2300. So the previous weeks we've had price moving to the upside, testing 2300 and move to the upside. a test of 2300, a move to the upside. I was expecting these sales to at least get to a point again like this, 2300, before looking for these buying opportunities, and that didn't happen. So we've seen buyers stepping in, say last week, taking prices to the upside. So what am I expecting coming into this week? For these buys to continue again to the upside, we should probably see some sellers coming in, say a little bit deeper, because this is a massive move to the upside as well. So if we can get, say, a move to the downside to give us a pullback, then from this pullback we might be looking for an opportunity to take prices to the upside, maybe to 2400, or just to eliminate highs like this. So going off of what is happening again on the DXY, this is going to help me anticipate a move to the downside on a pair like gold, and then eventually we might see prices moving to the upside, or the move might just come in and take prices all the way to 2300. Now this is very difficult. This is something I can't tell you what is going to happen like every step of the way, but all I do is just the market forecast, and then I take it from there, and that is it. So a quick look again on, I promised you guys I was going to tell you how I closed the trade on BTC from last week. So I had this running last week. So if you remember, I had this running last week, and eventually price stopped me out at this point. So we eventually closed this trade at, say, 4.86. So that was how I closed this BTC position I held from last week. I closed it at 4.86. And for this week, guys, that is it. You have the S&P. So for this week, you have the S&P 500. I'm expecting sales to come in. NAS100, I'm expecting sales to come in. US30, I'm expecting sales to come in. Gold, I'm also expecting sales to come in. And the DXY, I'm expecting prices to move to the upside. So that is it, guys. If you found this content interesting, as usual, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button. See you during the next one. Bye for now.